This was my first year doing World Watercolor Month, and I had a lot of fun. So let's talk about it. I wanted to participate in World Watercolor Month, but with work and everything else going on, I was worried I wouldn't have enough time. So I decided to do things a little bit differently, and I decided to just do mini paintings as one giant sketchbook spread. So let's talk about those today. Hi, my name is Shanna Rowe Jackson, also known as Caution Artist at Play. And if you're new here, I like to play with a bunch of different art supplies. And lately, I've been really into watercolor and watercolor products. And so this year, I was really excited when World Watercolor Month came around because I decided I wanted to try it out. Now, admittedly, I didn't decide until the second day of the month that I actually wanted to do it. And so I had to do 2 prompts on one day. But for the rest of the month, I was really good about it, and I did a prompt a day. So we are going to be taking a closer look at this sketchbook spread and each of the prompts, and I will talk about my favorites, which ones I disliked, what the challenge meant to me, and yeah, we'll just get into it. So let's go. Okay, so let's take a look at the spread overall. I have these stencils here. I have a bunch of fun shapes and sizes, and I use these to lay out my spread ahead of time and just kind of get an overall view of what it's going to look like with 31 different prompts on these pages. And then I let the shapes kind of influence the prompts, and I jumped all over the place. I didn't go in order. I went back and forth between the pages, and each time I got a new prompt, I looked to see which shape I think would fit it best and went from there. Now, I did it this way because I knew that there was no way I'd be able to do a full watercolor piece every single day between work and everything else that I have going on, and I wanted to just be able to do this in my spare time. So I didn't film any of these prompts either. I just went in when I had a few minutes here and there after supper or in the morning before I got my day started. Now, prompt 1 and 2, I ended up doing on day 2 because I hadn't fully decided until day 2 that I was actually going to do World Watercolor Month. So this was when I was still kind of feeling things out. I didn't know how I was gonna do this. I knew that I was gonna be doing a spread, but I didn't know how detailed I would get with the prompts. So pattern, it's a little bit wonky. It's not very good. But I did have a lot of fun with Rush. It's just a cute little illustration of somebody running down the road. And I had a lot of fun doing the color coming off to make it look like there was, that feeling of motion. And when I did this one, I was like, okay, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. The one thing that I went a little bit bummed about is I feel like there's too much space here. Like, that bugs me throughout the whole composition. I wish that this was a little bit longer to kind of close that gap. I also did try to kind of balance things as far as light and dark goes, but it was difficult because, again, I was going day by day with this, and the prompts really kind of determined what shape it went in and what colors I was using. But I do think overall I had a pretty good time. I do have a lot of yellow on this page, which I'm not like a huge fan of, but I love the prompts themselves. So anyway, I did 1 and 2, and then for the rest of the month, I was really good about doing it daily. And I kind of like the fact that they're in different places and not in order, because it makes me think of those, I don't know if you guys ever get those chocolate calendars around Christmas time. The advent calendars where you pick out like the door and then there's a little piece of chocolate for each day, and they're never in order. I kind of liked that. And so after I did 1 and 2, because initially I thought I was going to kind of do it all in order, but then I decided, I'm going to hop around. And then I did number 3, which is Turn. This one is one of my favorites. I'm thinking about making a sticker of this one. There's a few that I kind of want to make stickers of, so let me know if that's something that you're interested in, if you would like me to offer stickers of some of these, because I think that they're kind of cute, and I really like this wheel of watercolors. And then I did obviously a different color for each one, and then I put different brands of my favorite watercolors. So I have Holbein, M. Graham, Sennelier, Core, Daniel Smith, Winsor & Newton. You get the gist of it. And I should mention that for this, I used my Holbein watercolors, and then I also used some Pitt pens and some Micron pens and some of the Albrecht Dürer watercolor markers for like some emphasis, but it's mostly the Holbein watercolors other than the outlining. Number 4 was Signal, and this one, The only thing I could think of was a stoplight, but I had a lot of fun with it because initially I just had a nice long rectangle there, and then I built off the sides of that to create the stoplight. And I think it's a lot of fun. I love the illustratedness of it. Number 5 was patch. I am on a huge dandelion kick lately. For some reason, I am just finding them so inspirational. So I decided to do a flower patch, and this was just like an oval shape, and then obviously I modified it to create the natural edges of the leaves and the grass and of course the dirt. Number 6 was Rusty. I had a lot of fun with this one. This one, I just used the shape that I already had, and then I went into my garage to find some inspiration, and I just played with the layers until I got this fun dappled effect to create rust, and that is probably one of my favorites. I just had so much fun with that. The texture was amazing. Rust lends itself beautifully to watercolors. Like, watercolors are perfect for creating rust. So I really loved the rusty theme for that one. Then number 7 was study. This one was a lot of fun. I went back to thinking of when I was in school and just snacking, and there's all these fun little details. I had a lot of fun with the tablecloth and creating the book. I knew that this one, like when I saw that study was a prompt, I had this sort of vision in mind, not necessarily exactly like this, but this sort of vision in mind. So I knew I was going to need to use a bigger shape to do that. And I had a ton of fun with it, and I like the fact that I did some out of frame work on some of these. So the little plant is poking up there, and I love my little pen and highlighter. I just think they're super cute. This one was a challenge because it was a lot of detail in a small area, but boy, was it so much fun. And I love my loose flowers on the tablecloth. I had a blast with that one. Number 8 was feather, and I basically just went out of my imagination for that. I tried to find a good chicken feather because I have a ton of chickens in my yard, and they're always just hanging out, and I couldn't find any fun colored ones, so I decided to just make one up from imagination and make it as colorful as possible. And this one, it worked up pretty quickly, and it was a nice relaxing one, especially after doing the study one, which had a lot more detail to it. Number 9 was trunk. I am a tree hugger from way back, as many of you know. This one's a little bit more illustrative than the trees that I normally do though, but of course I had to go with some sort of tree. I thought about doing like a treasure chest or some sort of trunk like that, but I'm just the tree lover, so I go back to my old standbys. So that is why I did a tree for that one. Number 10 is probably, like, it's one of my top favorites, and that is Buried. I have a Chihuahua mix named Maisie, and she's so funny. I cannot handle the fact that it is 90 degrees out and she will still be under the blankets. And so, of course, I had to do one inspired by her. She's buried in one of our favorite fleece blankies, and she's just living her best life. It's so cute. And the amount of detail, like, it's so tiny. I'm really proud of how much it actually looks like her, considering like how small her little face is. Oh, I just love it. She's so cute, and I'm thinking about making that one into a sticker, though I don't know if anybody else will want it. I want it. I want it as a sticker because that's my little girl. Number 11 was Huddle, and this one is inspired by my husband because he loves football. And so, of course, I had to kind of do the view of looking up from inside a huddle from a football team. And I think it came out pretty good considering I'm not into football. I think I did a pretty good job, especially since it's so little. I like how it's abstract, but it still represents something. And I think it fit in this shape really well. So I'm pretty happy with that one. Number 12 is inspired by another one of my babies, Leo. He has this cute paw that every other toe bean is pink and black, pink and black. I call it his Neapolitan. It's my favorite paw of his, and I love him. He's a wicked snuggle bug, but he likes to play hard, and so I do quite often have scratches on me. You've probably seen them in videos. I still have a scar on my wrist from him from him scratching me because he likes to play rough. And so, of course, I had to do one of my favorite murder mittens of his, and that one is just super cute. And so I'm also thinking about doing a sticker of that one. Number 13 was Arch, and this is the one that is going across the page. And this side of the sketchbook is super thick compared to this side because I'm almost done with this sketchbook. And so it was interesting to try and do the detail in that crease. It's not perfect, but because of that, this looks a little like lopsided. But I do love the way it came out. This is based on a place called Hobbitland in Hollowell, Maine, and it's a place that I've grown up going to. It's right around the corner from where I grew up. It's just a beautiful forest that has this old bridge, and there's a dam, and there's like a waterfall, and it's just a beautiful place to spend time in the summer. Even, well, heck, it's a beautiful place in the winter. But it's well known in my area, and so, of course, if I was going to do an arch, it had to be that bridge, and I love it so much. It's just a nice little mini painting. I have painted this place before, but I definitely want to paint it again. Actually, some of us are planning on getting together at some point, hopefully soon, to go and paint their plein air, and so that will be a lot of fun as well. So 14... was Spiral. This is probably my least favorite prompt. I did a little rose, and it actually looks a little better now than when I posted it on Instagram because I ended up coming in with more color and touching it up. I did a glaze over it after. 15 is Vitamin. And of course, I went with Vitamin C. I have a lot of fun drawing and painting different bottles and containers. And so I thought about just drawing the vitamin itself, but I didn't have much interest in that. I didn't think it would really hold my attention enough. But all the details on this bottle definitely held my attention, and doing the shine and everything else, like all the different shading, I had a lot of fun with that. And I'm really happy with the way it came out. 16 was Fiber. This was one that I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? What am I going to do with Fiber? But the first thing that I think of when I think of Fiber is Raisin Bran. And so, you know, I probably should have done something that more to do with like the fiber arts or like, you know, some sort of, I don't know, but Raisin Bran is what came to mind. I only used a few different colors for this one. I kept it fairly monochromatic and simple, and I think it came out well. I like the little patches of milk. It's definitely, I mean, it's not my favorite. I feel like if it was bigger, I obviously would have been able to make it look more like Raisin Bran, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out, and I like the circle within this shape, and I don't know. I think it's pretty neat for its size. 17 is one of my favorites, and it is based on a plant that my friend Jane got me. And he is super cute. He's another one that I think I want to make into a sticker. Let me know if you're interested. My friend Jasmine named him Spike, and I think that's pretty cute because he has this like nice sweet little face, but then his name is Spike, and I don't know. I think that's wicked cute. So I'm kind of keeping the name Spike. I think it's fun. And I just had a blast with this. This is another one that I did with some of the little tendrils coming out and being out of the frame. And I love his little face. It was just a blast to do. So after Plant was Record, and I just went with the classic vinyl, and I wanted to add some color to it. So I did a loose little color wheel in the middle and just let the colors blend together. That was a ton of fun. I love the way those blended. I almost made up a name of a record and put it in the middle, but I decided not to because I really like the way the color looks in there. So that was a lot of fun, and I also had fun with making the sheen on it. And then, of course, I had to add some music notes. Number 19 was Widen, and this was one that I was not quite sure what I was going to do at first, but I decided that a good visual way to represent Widen is to just do arrows. And so I did that, but when I think of Widen, I think of like widening my horizons, widening my knowledge, learning more. And so I wanted to add a saying to it to kind of represent that as well. So I put try something new in there because that obviously widens your knowledge. Every time you do something new, you are widening your horizons. And of course, because I had some color in other aspects of the spread, I thought it would be a good idea just to put you know, a simple rainbow gradient in there for something for pop and to just make it pretty. That one was a lot of fun, very simple, but it was nice. It's nice that some of these prompts and some of these shapes ended up being simple because some days obviously were going to be more detailed than others. And so having something like this gave me a nice little break from some of the more detailed prompts. Number 20 is striped, and for some reason, I have always been drawn to these barbershop poles. As a kid, driving by any small town barbershop that had one of these out there, I was always so drawn to this pole. I just love the way they look. So when I saw that striped was one of them, I was like, I have to do the pole. And it worked out perfectly because I had like this long rectangle and then I just added to it. And it was so much fun. This one was a blast to do. And again, like, it's random, but that's what working from prompts does. It brings out so many different ideas that I wouldn't necessarily think to paint. And that's one reason why I really enjoyed this challenge. I was painting and drawing some things that I wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. 21 was filter. And I went through this phase in high school where I liked to draw different, I don't know, like portraits and things like that, and then just glaze color over them. And that's what this made me think of. And so that's what I went with. I did a simple flower illustration and then I filtered 2 colors over it. And I thought that was a lot of fun. Again, another simple one, but it was just such a great way to play with watercolors and use one of their best qualities to my advantage, that being the transparency of watercolors. And it was just so much fun. I think it's cute. 22 was pull. And I am perpetually a 12-year-old. So this was one that I'm like, what am I going to do for pull? Like, it was another one like widen that I'm like, well, I'm going to go with this. And then I'm like, pull my finger. So I drew, I don't know if any of y'all, if your dad or uncle or grandpa ever told you to pull his finger, but if they did, you know what happens after. And yes, I am immature. I couldn't resist, but I am pretty happy with the way it came out. I based it off one of my fingers, though I had to straighten it because my fingers are a little bit crooked, especially on my left hand from drawing so much. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was nice mixing the skin tones and painting the nail and drawing my ring. It was a lot of fun to do, but this definitely is a testament to my my immature sense of humor. 23 was title, and this one is just a fun little ocean scene I did out of my imagination, and I had so much fun with this sunset and just painting the waves and the reflections. And I did come in with, what was it? It was one of the white pit pens for like the dappled effect for the sparkles on the water. And I like how that came out, but this was just a ton of fun. I love how it came out. I think it's beautiful. It's a nice little mini painting. Again, another one I might make into a sticker at some point. I don't know. I haven't fully decided how I want to do things yet, but I just love it and I feel like I want to do more with it. 24 was effervescent. And when I think of bubbly things, I am a huge fan of sparkling apple cider. And so I just had to do that. Again, I like painting bottles and just playing around with reflections. And then I don't know if you can see it here, but I added some shimmer to it. Hopefully that's showing on camera. So I added some shimmery watercolors to that as well. And then I think this is the first one I added some shimmer to. There's a couple others that I add a little bit to in the future, but this one was so much fun. Initially, the shape that I had was this shape here. And I was kind of like, why did I put that so close? I don't know why. I hadn't really thought about it, but I wanted to fill this space here. So it worked out perfectly to use this one for effervescent so I could put the bottle there. And then just behind it, I put some bubbly to kind of represent what it actually looks like inside the bottle. Now I want some sparkling cider. 25 was luminous. And I knew I wanted to use the star for this one, and I added a little sparkle to that as well. I basically just did a fun wishy-washy sky with a moon in the middle. Well, not in the middle, but you see the little moon there. And then, of course, some silhouetted trees against it. I was very loose with this one. The trees are obviously a little bit tighter, but the sky itself was super loose. I did use a little bit of that marker again that I mentioned previously, the Pit Pen, but I have some white watercolor in my Holbein set, and I used some of that to splatter to get some of those stars. So the more faint stars are the watercolor, and then there's just a couple that I put in with the marker. But for the most part, it was done with watercolor, and I thought it was a fun way to use that shape. When I first initially put the star down, I didn't know exactly all the prompts. Like, I had looked at the prompt list, but it's not like I had it memorized or anything. And so when I saw luminous was coming up, I made sure that I reserved the star for that specifically. And I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to approach it when I came to it, so I just went with the flow, and this is what I ended up with. And I think it's pretty cute. 26 is global. And of course, I just had to draw a happy little earth. I think he's pretty cute. And initially, again, this was the triangle shape, but then I just put a circle in there so it kind of goes out of frame. And I put a little face on it, similar to my plant one, just to make him cute. But this time, his cheeks are stars instead of hearts. And he just looks so happy and just chilling out in space. 27 was obstacle, and this was another one that I'm like, I don't know what the heck to paint. Like, I don't know what to do. The first thing I thought of was like an obstacle course or, you know, people running track. And so I ended up going with, you know, a straight up interpretation of it and drew an obstacle and then painted the road. And then I have a shadow with somebody approaching the obstacle. And again, I went out of frame with it. That was pretty fun. And I think it was all right. It's not one of my favorites, but I am happy with how it came out, considering how small it is, and the fact that I honestly was not initially sure what I was going to do with that prompt. 28 was sweet, and I have a major sweet tooth. And I love the fact that this fell on mine and my husband's anniversary, and both of us are like crazy for sweets. And lately, especially in the summertime, I have major cravings for bubblegum. And this isn't based on any particular brand of bubblegum. I had a long rectangular shape there, and so I just modified that to create my own bubblegum. And this is another one that I added some shimmer to. Now I want gum and sparkling cider, and I have neither in the house right now. That is a shame. 29 is Serenity, and this one is another one that really kind of represents me. I love a good tree swing. I have a tree swing. I've had a tree swing since I was probably 12. I had a swing set before then, and I have always loved to swing, and that is my favorite place. It's like a form of meditation for me. I just sit and I put on my earbuds and listen to music, and I swing and I sing, and the neighbors probably hate it, but I love it. Even though now that I'm getting older, it makes me a little bit motion sick, and that makes me sad, but I still do it when I can. And so this kind of represents that. It's not exactly my tree swing. It's, you know, a made up kind of landscape, but the idea is there. Number 30 is deck. And the first thing I could think of was my cat Luna, because of the fact that I already had something for my dog Maisie and my cat Leo. And so I wanted to add her in. So I thought it'd be perfectly fitting to do a tarot deck because she's a black cat. So I have her sitting on the moon and just looking out. And I think it's super cute. I had fun with this one. Again, I tried to incorporate colors that were already in the piece. I used a lot of the same sunset colors that I used in here, and I love this dark blue color. I wanted something dark here to kind of balance the dark from here and here, but I didn't want it to be perfectly black, and I think it worked really well. But I think that's just such a cute design for a tarot deck. Look at that kitty. Oh, she's so precious. Okay, folks, so number 31. That one was shell, and I had to do something long because that was the shape that I had left. And so I instantly pictured this shell, and I wanted to use some of the blue that I had used previously in this. So I used a lot of the same colors, like from the blanket and from here, and then this blue that has been seen in other parts of the piece. And I think that it came out pretty good. I'm not exactly happy with the shape of the shell. It didn't come out the way I had hoped, but it's pretty close to what I was picturing for this shape. And so I think that it was a good way to conclude this little exercise. I say this little exercise, but it was a month-long exercise. I am so happy with this sketchbook spread. I think it is so neat. I love it all together, and I'm really proud of myself because this is my first time doing a monthly art challenge and sticking with it. I've tried Inktober in the past, but it just got away from me, and I'm really glad that I decided to do miniature paintings because I was able to stick with it. And now I have this really cool sketchbook spread. And every time I go through my sketchbook, I'm going to see this and I'm going to be reminded that I took on a challenge, although I modified it a little bit, and I accomplished it, even though I'm pretty busy, and I found time. And it was a great way to step out of my comfort zone, paint some things that I wouldn't necessarily think to paint. And it really got my creative juices flowing because I had to come up with creative ways to work with the prompt, but also work with the shape that I had and balance the composition and balance the colors and all of that. I think that it was such a fun challenge for me, and I learned a lot, and I'm excited. I might do it again next year. I might do Inktober. I haven't decided yet. I don't know, maybe come up with my own monthly challenge at some point. I don't know, but I do think that at some point I will be doing another monthly challenge, and I'm really happy with the way this came out. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below which one of the illustrations is your favorite. Would you like to see me make stickers of a few of them? Also, let me know if you went along with World Watercolor Month and how it went for you, and if you learned anything from it. I know that I definitely did. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. You have a fantastic day. Bye.